Hello, my rubber hearts. Today is a special day because we are starting something that so many of you have been asking for. I've been reading your comments, your messages, and there's one topic that keeps coming back again and again: mixing. You want deeper explanations, more detail, more real understanding of what's actually happening inside that mysterious black box we call a mixer. And honestly, that makes perfect sense because mixing is not just another step in rubber processing. Mixing is everything. So, welcome to our brand new series, Rubber Mixing 101. This is where we slow things down, go deeper than ever before, and really understand what's happening from the very first moment raw rubber enters a machine all the way to a perfectly engineered compound. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever followed the recipe perfectly? Same ingredients, same quantities, same steps, and still ended up with something completely different? Maybe the texture was off, maybe it didn't hold together, maybe it just didn't feel right. That is exactly what happens in rubber. You can take two identical formulations, same polymer, same filler, same additives, and if you mix them differently, you won't get the same material. Not even close. One might be strong and durable, the other weak and inconsistent. One might process beautifully, the other might give you nothing but problems. And that is the moment where people realize something important. Rubber compounding is not just about what you put in, it's about how you mix it. You know what's fascinating? When we talk about mixing, we are actually talking about three things happening at the same time. We are distributing ingredients so they spread evenly. We are breaking down filler structures into smaller, more effective units. And we are building a microstructure inside the rubber that will define its final properties. So, mixing is shaping the invisible architecture of the material. And that invisible structure is what controls performance. This is why mixing has such a powerful influence on the final product, something that is deeply emphasized in the science behind rubber processing. Now, to really understand mixing, we need to start with the tools, because the way we mix is defined by the machines we use. So let's step into the real world of rubber processing. Imagine standing in a factory. You look to one side and you see something that looks almost simple. Two large rolls turning slowly, pulling rubber between them. This is the open mill. It's one of the oldest and most intuitive mixing technologies we have. You can see everything happening. The rubber stretches, folds, wraps around the rolls. It's almost like kneading dough with your hands. Very visual, very direct, very tactile. Now you look to the other side and you see a closed machine. You cannot see inside. It's louder, more powerful, more intense. This is the internal mixer. And here's where things get interesting. Inside that closed chamber, under pressure, under heat, with rotating elements you cannot see, the rubber is transformed in ways that are far more aggressive and controlled than on the open mill. It's like the difference between cooking in an open pan and cooking inside a high-pressure reactor. Both can produce results, but the level of control, the intensity, and the scale are completely different. This is where we start to think in terms of industry. Open mills are often used for smaller scale work, adjustments, finishing step, or very specific operations where visibility and control are important. Internal mixers, on the other hand, are the heart of modern production. They allow us to process large batches, apply high energy, and achieve the level of dispersion needed for high performance compounds. And this brings us to another important idea that we will explore through this series: batch versus continuous thinking. Most rubber mixing, especially in internal mixers, happens in batches. You load a specific amount, mix it under controlled conditions, and then discharge it. But the industry is evolving, and continuous mixing is becoming more relevant in certain applications. So already, in just this introduction, you can feel how complex this world is. We have different machines, different energy inputs, different flow behaviors, and all of these influence what's happening at a microscopic level inside the rubber. And this is exactly why mixing deserves its own series. Because once you truly understand mixing, everything else in rubber starts to make sense. Processing problems, material behavior, even final product performance. They all trace back to what's happening during mixing. So in the next episode, we are going to open up that mysterious internal mixer. We will go inside, explore its anatomy, and start understanding what those hidden rotors are really doing to your compound. Until next time, stay elastic and stay curious.